I'm going to spend the first few minutes talking, guiding us through this meditation before Roger comes and channels the information through. Let's transform together is what came to me a minute ago. Let's transform together and let's set the intention collectively, each one of us, to let go of what we're ready to let go of. Take one thing for yourself that if you let go of this one thing that may hold you back, that you transform in a way that is beneficial for yourself and for the people in your surrounding, and maybe even for the world. Every choice that you make is from cosmic significance. You hear Roger talking about this, you hear me talking about this, and we all know this, that every choice matters. And it's our time to step up. It's our time to take action on what's important for us. It's time to own our opinion and who we are to the core of our being. You are unique, and your soul, your spirit wants to express itself uniquely. You do not came here to be like someone else. You're not here to copy other people. You're here to find your own unique path and live on purpose. Guided by your intuition, guided by your heart, guided by spirit, you're going to get all that you need. You are abundant. From now on, you allow yourself the abundance to flow through you. No holding back, no holding on too tight to material things. Let things come and let things go. Give and receive. It is time for us all to step up. For me, for Roger, for you, for everyone. It's time to own our greatness. We are powerful, we are beautiful, and together we are much stronger than we could have ever thought. Let's manifest our dreams and stay with our intention. All my love. Let's go.
We're so happy you're here and we're ready to begin. Now, we say that all the time. We have waited for you your entire lives, and today you'll understand it because it was this day that we wanted you to understand your importance, and we knew that we would capture your attention a little bit more, which was why we were so urgent about getting you here, because you're looking at your lives and your world and you're wondering what's happening. What's happening is that the world is waiting for you to love yourself. The world is waiting for you to own who you are. The world is waiting for you to do the thing that you came here to do because you have it. It is within you, and all we've been giving you all this time is this information to awaken you to who you are, so that you can hear your higher self, because it's always been speaking to you. Nothing is happening accidentally. Everything that is occurring in your world, we've told you, but you haven't listened many times. You don't listen to yourself. You don't trust yourself. That's why we have this message. And this is why we gave you the message on our site from 2012 about your magnificence. You spend your life coming to understand that. But when you do, and when you own that, you have this glorious life, and then you change your world. We told our guide last night, we want this particular session to be called Wilhelm's Guide to Personal Success and World Peace, because that's what we've given you. Your life operating instructions is exactly that. We've called it your ascension guide, because that's what you're all doing, and that's what your planet is doing right now. But you're holding on to the old stuff. This is why you're having wars. This is why your lives are not what they could be. And we're speaking to you because we know that you are the people who would hear us. Not everyone would understand what we are giving you, and not everyone would be as sensitive as you are. Not everyone would be feeling the energies that you have. And we know that it's been challenging and difficult for many of you, but we're going to really help you to understand this today. We have always said that you're eternal spiritual beings, all of you. But you come to understand that in different ways throughout your individual journey, but also at certain times in your world. Your world will, come together depending on what you do. Everything that's going on outside is occurring within you. But we're going to take you back because we've taken our being through so many things, as we always do before we do these sessions, because we want to give you as much as possible. You can't understand how we could have given you a message on this date 3 years ago that you can read today and know that it's speaking to you. That's what happens. You're all consciousness, and no one has any more than you. We had you do something a long time ago. We said, please touch yourself. Just touch yourself anywhere. And then ask yourself the question, what would make me any less or more than any other human? When more of you answer that question, you will not see the world that you're seeing now, and your lives would be completely different, because what happens is you hold back. But we're going to go back. We began this particular one in 1955. Now, that doesn't make sense to you, but we're going to tell you how long we've been bringing this information forth, how long we have brought it through in this being, and then how it's affected and changed his life. And that's the information that we're giving to all of you. So we know that the more of you who would do it, you would change your lives, you would become successful, and you would change your world. That's what would happen. Now, we know most people won't do that, which is why you hold back. And this is why the world is still fighting the same wars that you've been fighting for centuries, which is why years ago, we told you that the Israel and Palestine thing would come up again, because too many people have not let go of what is old. You haven't let go of your grievances, and you all have them. You come into the world broken, as we've said. That means you're carrying energies that have existed in your world from the past. And we've given you information, and we've used our being to do it, to bring this work through so that you could use it, so that you could live these glorious lives, and that one day you would have this world that you would all love. That's what happened. Now, in 1955, you all have a path. Let's just say this. You have a divine plan. You have a blueprint. You don't always see it, but then there are clues that come through, glimpses. Many of you are having them now because you're starting to see these synchronicities, and you're starting to have memories that are coming up that you didn't know existed. And that's purposeful because it's showing you your divine plan. It takes you a while to believe it or accept it, but you all have it. And so when we mention 1955, that's when our being went to a school called Theodore Herzl. Herzl was a Zionist. And if you understand what's happening in Israel right now, you will understand why we brought that up, because he had to see there's another way. There is a way for him to move beyond any kind of hatred, judgment, prejudice that has existed, because you've all had it. Every race has had it. Every civilization has had it. And you decide when you're going to move through it. Because one day you're trying to get to this place of oneness where you know that you're all one. But that's a big shot, let's say, that none of you get there. But you have an opportunity now. We said, this is the most important time that you have ever lived. This is the most important time on your planet, because this is what we have said is your restructuring. And the restructuring means that you're going to build things new that are going to serve more of you, where you're going to love yourselves, where you're going to love others, where you're going to allow yourselves to prosper, and you're going to be abundant. And then you're going to take care of others instead of allowing them to starve and suffer, as what is occurring in your world now. That's all that's happening. And everything is energy. When you can understand the energies that have been how your world is created, then you will and your lives, then you will start to make better use of it all. And we've given you all of that information. There's nothing that we haven't given you that could cause you to live the lives you want to have and to change your world. Now let's continue this on, because what we said, we're so pleased because many of you have already sent some questions that we're going to answer, and more of you are going to understand what is occurring right now, what's happening to you, and what is happening in your world. That's the information we're going to give you. So as we let our being through this journey of his life, which is what we have all of you do in our work, is to go through your life, because you start uncovering things from your past, which are always these restrictions and limitations that you've used and you've kept believing that have held you back. So when you move through that and understand your history, which we said your history is brilliant. Many of you judge your lives, and you've judged what you've gone through that you didn't understand, but it was for a purpose. And that purpose was to cause you to move beyond it so you could reach the light, so that you could ascend, so that you could become the beings that each of you were meant to become. And so as he moved through that, then we took him to 1978, because in 1978, he was living in Chicago on a street called Goethe. He didn't even know what the word meant. He looked at that word and goes, what does that mean? And it wasn't until years later where he understood that he was given that information so that he could remember it now, because Goethe wrote Wilhelm Meister Apprenticeship, which is the search for self-actualization, which all of you are doing, and that's all the work that we have done. Now, it's connected to so much more, because each of you have this intelligence that you access in different ways. We just gave our messenger a path that could serve you all, because we're accessing cosmic information. This is why it resonates for so many of you. This is why when we speak, you hear us. Others won't. Others will run because they said, no, this doesn't make any sense. And so we don't expect more people to understand that, but we do know that you will, because that's why we attracted you. You have never been in an accidental place. You just take some time to understand it. But we have a bone to pick with you, though, because one time we said to you, please tell our messenger to listen to the recordings. Because, see, he forgets. He's not here. When he's delivering this information, he is in a different dimension. And this is what we want you to understand as well. You can all live in different dimensions, and that's in your consciousness. And if you practice it enough, you can reach a higher state of consciousness where you're not afraid of what is going on in your life, and you're not afraid of what's happening in the world. And that's where he lives now most of the time, but he has to come back and be his Roger self. And that's a little uncomfortable sometimes, just like it is with you. But what we're saying is that it's a process. It's a process that you move through individually and one that you do collectively. And this is a huge one. Now, we had him also, we're going to come back to the others because we want to go to Goethe, but we just want to give you something else about this day, this particular day, why we said this day, because when we had him go back the other day and find the recording that many of you did not tell him to look at, we had him find a recording from October 30th of 2021. And it said everything that we're saying today, pretty much. But you couldn't have heard it because most of you do not see things until they're right in your face. And then you wonder, why didn't I act? Why didn't I move? Why didn't I do something? And then you're looking at your life and you think somebody else has done it to you. No, you have done that. Which is why we have the message that we had earlier saying you're being asked to become more. Now, we can't explain to you in logical terms, in your human terms, how he could have written all of this and received this information and put it in dates that he could recall and bring up, but you each have the ability to do it. You're not meant to do it exactly like he does, but you have a history that is valuable and has gems in it if you stop judging yourself. If you stop thinking you're insignificant, if you stop thinking that you're small, see, because that's what's happening in your world now. There are billions of people who have lost their autonomy, who do not know how important they could be, and that importance is energetic. If you can get that point, and we had him also go back to Tesla. We've given you all of this. We've talked about Tesla a while back because most of you did not understand the value of the information that he brought through. And unfortunately, the way that he died, it was just what many of you look at as a tragedy in the way that happened. However, what he left with you was an understanding, which led to all your quantum mechanics and everything else. But if you know that all creation is about energy, vibration, and frequency, that's all. And this is why we've set up our work there, because we know that if you keep doing something consistently and you raise your vibration, you start to love yourself. And then you put that into the world. That's all that it is. None of you are made less than another. And you have, and this is the other thing, many of you, because we felt this, that you start judging what you're doing as not being significant enough. And we keep receiving that. And that's a lack of understanding of energy and how important that is, because you all, any of you, could change the complete world if you decided to own the available energy within you and do something really wonderful that would serve others. You all have that ability. It may not be your path, but there is a path for you that is valuable, and the contribution that you make to the world is what will change everything. And this is what we've been giving you. So when we took him back there, we said, okay, now let's go to Goethe. And he resisted us, because you all do that. You resist yourself because you don't believe who you are. We had him do something the other day, and we're going to say, because we've laid all of this up, we said, he made a video, said, I can no longer be the reluctant mystic. See, because he's known all of this information for a while, but he's also introverted, and it was difficult for him to bring it out. But he also wanted to make sure that it worked. Even though in December of 2021, right after we did that last session, he tested it and he saw, wow, these people are transforming. But then he stopped again. See, you each do that. So we had him hear something again about Goethe because he did the same thing. He would stop, and then he had several things that didn't work, but he would stop because of the doubt, because of the disbelief and the judgment. But then he saw, when he got together with Schiller, many of you will study all of this later and you'll figure it out, but when he got together with Schiller, he gave him different alternatives. He'd give him, and they would kind of clash at times, but they knew that that was important. This is what we're saying about your world now. If you understood that all the differences that you're bringing in are purposeful because they cause you to expand as a consciousness, as a full society. And until you come to that, you keep killing each other. And this is what we had. We didn't want to do this. He didn't do it. We gave him a statement. He says, how long are you going to keep killing yourself? See, because that's what happens. You're killing yourself when you don't own who you are. And then you put an energy into the world that allows others to do the same to many masses of people. So this is why you're here now. And this is why we've said we've given you all of this work, because when you thrive and love yourself, everything begins to change. And so we took him through that. And then he started seeing, oh, wait a minute. Now I understand why Carl Jung came into the picture. We're saying this, you all have something that develops over time. So we don't want you to judge yourselves because that's counterproductive. You access it when you become willing, when it's right in your particular plan, and when you want to love yourself. That's all. It's a moment by moment process. And sometimes it's challenging. It was challenging for our being because he took on a big role, as we've said before. But when you start looking at the contrast with all the beings that have come before and you start studying them, which is why we've said it would be helpful for you, some of you, if you would study some of your history of those great leaders, you would understand things. And we've also said there's no hierarchy of souls. And once you get that, you start to own who you are and you understand your importance. No one has more than you. It's just a process of how much you are willing to accept. And it's a day by day, moment by moment process because none of you were born less. You were divine beings, let's say. And so as we looked at, but you run, and we'll tell you all the places where he's run. This is why we have had that message there. You were never lost. You just stopped running. That's all. That's each of you. Because we say stop running because you don't want to look inside. You don't want to discover who you are because that's uncomfortable, just as Carl Jung told you all, that he's the problem with most people. You don't want to see what's there. And we are saying, because we've seen it, we know what's within you. It's beautiful and it's wonderful. And all you have to do is begin the process of owning it. And yes, it takes training your brain. You use your human brain, your neuroscience to change what you have been taught, what restriction was there, and then you start to see a new world. And we're pleased. We want to say this too. There are many that are in our program that have done such amazing things in this last a few weeks, actually, that it is just giving us nothing but joy because we know the difference it's making in your life, and we know that difference multiplies in your world. That's why we gave you the ripple effect, because when more of you understand that, you start to take your lives a little more seriously, start to take your presence a little more seriously, and you start to allow yourself to prosper. That's the other thing that many of you have done, including our messenger, because we've brought this up many times. We said, we want you to make more money. Now, money is energy. We want you to understand everything is energy. But when you allow yourself to prosper, that means you're allowing yourself to love who you are, and you're allowing yourself to access and own your authentic self. Most of you are judging your authentic selves. That's why you don't want to look at it, except you were given that self for a vital purpose, and it was meant to come alive now. Otherwise, you would not be on this earth. It just takes a while for you to accept that. And so as we told him that this is where he was supposed to go, he goes, no, I'm not going to do that. In 2005, he had a dream. He doesn't have dreams, but this is what he had, and he wrote it down. Many of you have done this. This is why we're saying it, because you'll relate to it. And so he wrote the dream down, and he put it in the closet so he wouldn't have to see it. Maybe he won't have to do it. How many times have you done that? Oh, no, I can't do that. That's not me. Because then you allow that imposter syndrome to come up. I can't do it. I'm not big enough. That's the problem. And then when you do that, you start blaming others for your lack of success and happiness and love. And then you look at your world and you start blaming all of them. And we said blame is going to come up during this time because you're going to be moving through this particular transition for a while. The reason we had him see, and we hope more of you can find this, was a wonderful guy, a geophysicist, who did an explanation of the energies on this day. And we've always said that, and if you go back and listen to the information that we gave you on that video from October 30th, 2021, you'll see it was another eclipse with Scorpio, and this is a double Scorpio here who is about transformation, regeneration, and rebirth, and that's been his entire life, and that's why he was able to bring through this information, and that's why he was able to demonstrate the results of that through the healing that he's experienced in his life, and the anger and hatred and judgment that he's been able to release. All of you can do that. And the more of you do, then you start to see a very different world. But he resisted. So we're saying that's what you each have done, because you see things and you don't believe it. We even had him see a personality test one time where we put on there Goethe and that the beliefs that Goethe had about what the world could be. But he had trouble believing that as well, just like you all do. But the more of you who decide that you're going to believe that you could have this world that looks wonderful, that you could prosper, that you could love one another, you have to start with loving yourself. That's the place. We can't create the world that you want without you doing it first within what is within you. And that happens when you understand the life journey that you've had. We gave you a message, as we said, on the number 8 day in January. That was January 11th. It was in 2012. But what we said, your story. Your story is unique and valuable because no other soul shares precisely your story. Who would make yours? Why would your story be any less than anyone else? Now, the only difficulty you have is how you tell that story. And when you can understand the things that you've gone through, that you move through, especially the ones that you have judged, and when you can appreciate what you accomplished because of what you moved through and stop and get rid of your shame and embarrassment, then you come to love. And more of you who do that, you have a very, very different world. And so we had him see all of that, and we took him through we had him watch a really, really long video about all of this so he could have some information, because when you understand your history, you feel a little more confident, and it's your personal history, we're saying. So when he saw the personality test that came up, and we advise all of you to do that because you start to understand the things that have gone on, because you have technology that has allowed you to collect human consciousness in a way that you can analyze it and see it and know your right place. That's why you use astrology and all the other things that you do. They all are valuable. So that's why we said if you saw the configurations, because this particular configuration has never happened. And it was wonderful when we were watching the geophysicist talk about that. He's saying, we've never seen this before. Yes, that's why it's so chaotic in your world. You are affected by the energies. And as you study that and you start to see, oh, wait a minute, this is how things are created, and start to pay attention to the energy that you're carrying within you and how you decide to love yourself in each moment, how you decide to move through the restrictions, because that's what's going on. And the war in Israel, in all the wars, let's just talk about this. All the wars are from old beliefs and ideas that you have not transcended. That's all. Why would you keep killing one another? Where does it stop? How many people do you think you can kill? Bodies, we should say, because souls never die. They agree to leave the earth at their time. You never die before your time. Your soul has an agreement. So we don't want you to, please stop being afraid of the death thing, because we've gone through that a lot. No, you're not in physical form forever, but you don't die. And so in the people who make agreements, you always have a plan. And if those who are dying in those places, it's sad and it's horrible. That's what brings up your empathy. So don't judge yourself for having that grief. We want you to have that grief. We want you to feel it, because when you do that, then it brings up your empathy, and then you can give it to others. And that's what we wanted above all else. When we first began these talks, which was a challenge, as we told you, to get our being to do this, because he never wanted to be out in public. No, we said, we want to bring down your fear and doubt, because you all have it. And we knew that it would be really high at this time. But when you decide to change who you are, then your world will do the same. It's no one else doing it but you. And so we please do a search on our any advice for today and search for the word blame, and you'll find a message that we gave you that has years of messages that went back talking about blame, because that's what you're going to see in your world now, because everyone else is going to blame every other person for what is occurring. We don't want you to do that. We want you to own who you are, because blame holds you back, because then you feel powerless. Then you can't change anything. If you're blaming everyone else and you think your governments and your leaders are controlling you, that's never going on. It's just about how willing are you to bring in your energy and your purpose and your life, because you all have it. But it's this feeling of littleness that you've each carried, which is why we've injected the likes of Alfred Adler into our work, because he knew that the problem with most of you was this inferiority thing that you feel you have. And that's never true. None of you have that. And this is what we've been guiding you to all the time. And every single message we've given you, especially up until today, was to cause you to awaken to the brilliance that is within you. You don't do it all at once. This is why we're using our being as an example. And we had him see Goethe this morning too, where he did the same thing. He had worked on work for so long and kept putting it away, and they finished a part of it, and then they would bring it out. Now, our being has done the same thing. He has more work than he has so many books he could write, and we want him to finish, because that's the other thing we told him, because this is going to go on, and we're going to leave in this world our work, your life operating instructions, which anyone who uses it is going to cause them to live this wonderful life. And over time, you will start to see a very different world. And you can never, we can say these things because most people won't believe it, but anyone who does it, they do believe it. And that's, you'll hear that eventually, because we have many people who will say that. Now, this is something that he couldn't accept, but he had to get over his ego first, which is what many of you have to do. When we talk about the ego, we're saying that part of you that you have made this barrier outside of yourself that keeps things away from you, because you think it's keeping you safe rather than coming alive and loving yourself. And that's what he's done. So we had to get him over his ego so we could show you all, demonstrate to you all that it is possible. And the more of you who do this, you're going to have a very different world. He had a big idea, and we told him he could do it, but still that doubt. We said, this work could change your world. He said it a long time ago, but he knew nobody could hear it. That's why we keep repeating things, and we've repeated our messages from 10 years ago, 13 years ago, whatever. It doesn't matter, because we want you to understand the process. You use your human brain just like when you went to school. You study for an exam, and then you get to that exam and you think, well, I don't remember. So then you go back and you review. That's how you live your lives, you see, and it's always in your consciousness. And this is what you're doing now. Now, we're going to talk about the collective consciousness, because you're going to move through a period. And the reason we brought up the United States, you'll start to understand this as well, because they're going through a bit of ugliness right now. But that's purposeful, because they have to uncover everything, because they've been leading the world, your free world, for these 248 years, and they haven't lived up to what they were going to do. So now they're trying to figure that out. But in that figuring out, everyone's going to want to be right, which is what we said, before, that you're going to experience this. But the thing that will remain is the light and the love. That's all that comes around. But you have to go through this breaking down, or this destruction, so to speak. And you're breaking down your entire planet. That's what's happening. And we said all the weather events, all the things that are happening are causing you to awaken, because you don't die. Your spirit's that coming about. Your soul is what's here. And so our work is meant to guide you to your soul's purpose, because you each have one. You may not understand it or get there right away. And this is why we tell you to be patient, because you will. And we know that is happening now. But then it takes a while for you to believe it and accept it and love it. But that's the entire goal. So what we want to do now, because we have questions, we know we can feel so much. And all the information we're going to give you is going to come through as we begin answering these questions. So let's begin with that.
Okay, the question and answer portion is now live, everybody. Welcome. Use the Q&A button to ask your question. Questions in the chat will not be asked. If you are able to send your question in, we will answer it, even if we go a little bit over time. Right away, we have questions pouring in. Question number 1. A little bit of a long question here. Darling Roger, you are so special. I hope you know just how much you're loved by this community. My question is about downloads. In 2020, I started meditating and microdosing a certain chemical, and it stacks in the brain
Mhm.
for cognitive improvement.
Mhm.
I was a novice, but immediately my meditations were powerful, full of images and downloads. These downloads continued during my daily activities, sometimes in conversation. The words that came out of my mouth were spoken by something else, like channeling.
Mhm.
And quite honestly, daily life felt like a dream. But my daydreams were vivid and evoked powerful emotions within me. It felt so incredibly real. And it also felt like it was guidance.
Mhm.
I have always been ambitious, driven, and my goals have no ceiling, but I find myself light years away from my goals and in a life situation that feels like I'm standing still. Now my meditations are just quiet. And without this guidance, I don't know what steps I can take to bring me closer to my goals and dreams. I feel lost. This full moon marks new beginnings. What is my new beginning? Why did the guidance stop? And what can I do to start progressing again? I'm sending you all my love, gratitude, and warmth.
It seems like we would have made that up. How could we have asked for that question to come up and we're saying to you that you were never lost, you just stopped running? And so you are this brilliant person who is here who came awake. And that's why you were awakened in 2020. There was a movement in 2020, which many of you felt and you couldn't understand. And that's why you did it. And you did the microdosing because you were stuck a little bit, because that allowed you to get outside of your consciousness so that you could experience these other dimensions that have always been within you. And so, and the reason that the communication stopped in the way that it did is because you don't need it anymore. You can, I mean, if you choose to do that to get some more, you may need that. But our being did something like that a long time ago. We said, okay, you've done it. Now you see things, just keep going. But the reason it stopped is because now you're supposed to take over. And you're not, you're not lost. This is so wonderful. You became awake and you're going to form the thing that you're going to do now. You're just going to keep going. We're just going to keep guiding you because it's just a step by step. So you have to, first of all, remove the judgment of all of that, because we felt a little bit of judgment of how you got there and that you didn't understand what was going on. Now it got quiet because it wants you to listen. Your higher self is speaking to you so broadly now. And so you are part of this mission of bringing in light and love in the world. And so thank you for bringing us that question, because you are going to do so much. And again, we just have to say it again. You think that something has happened because it stopped. It did not. It's going to awaken now within you, and just do some more meditation and allow it to come through. That's all. Thank you.
I had a severe brain injury some years ago, and besides losing copious amounts of my life and memories, things I consider strange are happening. It seems that sometimes I'm starting a new life each day with some changes that are going on around me that I can't explain. Like the past has changed in ways that I have no memory of. Am I jumping through timelines during all of this, or am I just kind of brain dead?
We love you guys so much. Yes, you're jumping through timelines, and you had that accident so that you could get rid of those memories, because that's what was holding you back. And so there are certain things that will happen in your life. Sometimes you think they're accidents or unfortunate circumstances, but many times what they're doing is getting you to release that old history. And then what you've done is you started to see your past in an entirely new way, which is what we've been guiding you all to do, because you start to judge that past, the ones that you can remember. But for you, what happened was, because of the accident, you instantly got rid of all that old stuff. That was a blessing that came to you, and now you're getting more visions, and it's going to come about, and we just want you to trust it, because there's something that you have a special gift that is going to start to emerge, and we just want you to start embracing it, because as we've said before, sometimes self-discovery can be frightening. And so that you'll start to think, am I crazy? Am I going out of my mind? No, you're accessing another spiritual aspect of who you are to bring light into this world, and your life is allowing you to do that. And we are grateful for you being here, because we know the difference that you're going to make as you keep guiding it and trusting yourself, and we're going to keep talking to you about it. So thank you.
I believe tarot is a part of the work in front of me. Am I correct in believing that I have been involved with tarot for several incarnations, and that I am underestimating the scope and value of it?
Yes. Thank you. That's exactly the answer. You each will connect with things in different ways. And again, let's go back to energy. And when you use a tarot card, you're using energy. When you're pulling it, you're using energy that the universe is saying, yes, this is what you need to read right now. This is where your life is. Now, a lot of people won't believe that, but it's part of your incarnation this time. And yes, it's probably always been with you. Ancient practices have been around forever. Many of you don't understand them or believe in them, or you just think they were some made up stuff, but it's all energy again, and it comes in different ways. But when you let go of the judgment of how that energy comes to you, the reason our being couldn't bring this work forward earlier than what he has in his life is because he said, no one's going to believe this. When he started receiving us in 1988, he kept it hidden, or tried to, for at least 20 years, because it's that. So you have been connected to this energy. This is how you're supposed to bring it in, and you're not trusting yourself. We were feeling that, and we want you to start trusting, because as you start going inside and allowing that energy to direct the cards that you're pulling for yourself and for others, because you're going to read a lot of other people and you're going to help them, but it takes this trust, which we have in the message again. You'll see that again, that trust to come through, but it's a thing that you build over time. You use your linear time to build trust. So we just don't want you to judge yourself, because this is not the time for any of you to judge yourself. It's more of the time for you to love yourself and access that magnificent. It's going to be different, and it's unique, and it's yours. And the answer to your question again is yes. Thank you.
Lately, I have noticed my memory is like a goldfish. I can't remember things I normally would. Intuitively, I feel it has something to do with me going deeper into spirituality. Is this the case, or is it something physical? If spirituality is the case, what's the purpose of me remembering less?
Okay, this is so brilliant. We told our being a long time ago, you have a selective memory, and you do as well. And we, first of all, no, nothing's going wrong with your brain. You're forgetting those things because they're not important to you right now, and so those memories are leaving. Our being would always be with friends or family, and they would say they would have all these memories of things, and he couldn't remember yesterday. Now he can remember ancient stuff. He can remember all of these, and you all have seen it when he's working with you, and you say something, he says, "Oh yes, I have that information. Wilhelm gave me that," and he can pull it up. And so, but if you ask him what he had for breakfast yesterday, it might be a little difficult. So sometimes it's purposeful for you, depending on your life, to forget certain things so that you can access more that's coming, that's new. And so spirituality is always about gaining that higher perspective. And sometimes all of you use your past to hold you back in different ways if you haven't reinterpreted it in a way that can help you. So when sometimes you're being given this ability to not remember certain things because they're not serving you in the moment. If the memory is necessary, it'll come back. But for you, what we're feeling is you're opening up to something now that's going to give you a greater sense of your purpose, your awareness, what you're here to do in this world. And we're so grateful for you. But please let go of the judgment and don't worry about what you've remembered or not. Thank you.
Hi, Wilhelm. In the year 2024, do you see me move to a different job or career? I'm eager to learn more about me and my healing powers. Do you see me in the future using my powers unto others for the better good?
Yes. Because you couldn't have asked the question. And see, this is the doubt that we're talking about in the trust. It's not manifest yet. That's correct. But you have the idea. None of you are given ideas or thoughts that are arbitrary or accidental. It just takes you a while to embody them and to live them. But yes, and we're so glad that you said 2024, because that's when you're needed. And so more is going to start coming up, and we want you to help more people. And that's what you're feeling. And that is going to be, because 2024 is going to be a little bumpy for all of you. And this is why we said we're continuing our work on, because we know that the more that we can cause more of you to become happy, abundant, and you're going to help this change, because the change won't be complete until this particular aspect of it until 2025. So this is the best time for you to work on what you're doing. And what you said is that yes, you're going to be in a different place because your current situation is not allowing this to flourish in the way, and you know that, and it's going to come about. But we want you to start planning it. We want you to start envisioning what that looks like, and then it's going to start to manifest, because you need time when you start to put things into your physical brains and your sphere, so to speak, and then for it to start to manifest in the physical world. And so that is where you are. So thank you, and thank you for your service, because we feel what you're going to do, and it's going to be brilliant. Thank you.
Hello, Wilhelm. My body is overwhelmed by energy. How can I help my body in the best way?
We want you to breathe. We want you're okay. This is why, again, why we had to do this today. There's so much energy going on, and many of you have felt that, and your bodies are being affected in various ways. And so it can be a little disconcerting. Some of you are losing balance. Some of you are having hearing things. Some of you are having gut and gastro thing. It's all of that. So we just want you to breathe, drink water, go to the nature, do something that causes you to calm down, because you're sensitive. You're very sensitive to everything that's going around. And so, but that's perfect. That's why you're here. That's why we wanted you here. So but give yourself, especially these next several days, especially, we want more of you to give yourself self-care, especially when you're feeling the stresses of all the energies, as many of you are. But you're just take care of yourself and just love who you are. You're coming into some new awareness that we're pleased to see come about. Thank you.
For the last several years, my interests have seemed to be scattered and unfocused. I have explored herbal medicine, tarot, art, music, gardening, etc. After recalling a dream, I now believe all of these things to be tools in shamanism. Am I being called to shamanic practice?
Yes. Again, you guys are so brilliant, and this is why we attracted you here. This is why we called you in. Yes, all of those things are part of that shamanic practice, which many of you will have, are being got labeled that just the other day. He doesn't like using these labels at times, because he feels this responsibility for all of you in such a great way. But yes, that is what's coming up. And so all of those things that you've done are going to serve your clients, the people that you're going to work with, your being whatever tribe you're going to create. They're going to serve each one in a different way. So you're all multi-dimensional beings, but you have been given a variety of things that can serve a variety of people. And so it's going to be different, because each of you are not going to respond to the same ideas and all of that. When we do our work, we're dealing with your consciousness. We said to you first that we give you the most important thing. You might use other things to get there, but the most important thing is your consciousness, your mindset. That's all that it is. And so that's the work that we have given you to change that. But you are going to use all the other accoutrements, let's say, to help others come to that higher state of understanding within them. So yeah, you'll figure it out, because yes, they're all supposed to be there, and it is guiding you to that work, but you just need to form it and look at, what do I want it to be? How I want it to look? And we want you to envision that. We keep throwing in Einstein, because many of you miss certain things. And he talked about the power and how powerful it would be for you all to use that imagination. And that's what you are going to do now as you're building your practice. Thank you.
I'm in between death phase, or am I in between death phase? It's a question. What else could you say to trust shifting into balance? At the moment, my day changes are disconcerting and scary. How do I proceed, and how do I trust?
You just answered it. You trust. And this is why we gave you the message. You have to trust. All of you are in a death phase right now. Your planet is in that. That's what's going on. And the death phase is meaning letting go of what was old in your lives and in your world. And those are energies again. And they're limited thinkings, limited ideas, limited ideologies, suppression. I mean, all of those things. That's what you're moving through. So those of you who are most sensitive, you're going to be feeling it in numerous ways. So what you are meant to do is just accept it. Stop resisting. We keep bringing up the resistance because that's what most of you do, is that when these things come up and they're uncomfortable, you want to run from them. And this is in your society today, it makes it really challenging because we know people can't listen to our stuff because it's not a minute long. And most of you don't have an attention span that can allow you to stay silent or even for a few minutes to hear things, because we want you to hear you. We want you to hear your higher self. And when you calm down and listen, you will start to see that. So as you're going through these bodily changes and all of that, you have to just trust that it's okay, that nothing, that it's taking you to the next version of who you're meant to be in this lifetime. That's all. And so just trust. That's why we gave you the message. We knew many of you would be uncomfortable during this time, which is why we're doing this. So thank you.
Greetings. When we dream and remember it, it is not a dream anymore. It's a message. I had a short dream earlier today where I was shown the number 555. Can you assist me? What do I need to know about this message, please?
555 was an indication that you're being awakened, you're being called, you're on a mission. And the more of you who see these repeating numbers, we've told you this years ago. Our being was having so many of these, and we did a session where we had him take pictures of how it kept showing up, and every clock, everywhere he looked, he couldn't look at anything without seeing those numbers. In 555, you haven't done this yet, we don't think. Please look up the angel number 555 and just do a Google search on it, and you'll find the information, because you're being awakened, and that's why it's coming about for you. So it is significant, and it's like a nudge, as we said. You have glimpses, and we give you nudges as well. But that's your higher self saying, yes, please keep going. You're here for this great reason, and you're on the right path, and stop doubting yourself and just embrace it. And you have in the 555 too, you'll see that that's a bigger message for your world. And you'll start to access that aspect of yourself, which is going to bring that forth. So thank you.
Thank you for that question. And just letting you all know that the Q&A is now closed. We have plenty of questions that will carry us probably past the hour. If we go over, we're going to answer every question. If you were unable to send your question in, then please bring it to the next channeling session. Here we go, continuing on. Please let me know if I'm going to get through this divorce after 26 years with this person and move to a better life with my kids. Thank you for your answer, and it's appreciated.
Yes, you will. You have to decide. See, this is the thing. This is the doubt that we're talking about. Let's talk. In this particular period in your world, many of you are finding some of your relationships shifting, even the ones that you've been with for a long time. That's not a bad thing necessarily. It's just a part of your evolutionary path. But you have attachments to things, and you have kids and all that, so it becomes really complicated for you. However, you have to set it up in a way knowing that this is leading you to a greater experience in your life. And your husband, your I don't know what spouse it was, what your husband or wife or whoever it was allowing you to do that. That's all, to get you to this place. And so now you have to put in place what you want and how you want it to see it, and do it with love, because there's no one was wrong in this. That's the thing that happens when you come up to, many of you, when you come to a place where you feel that you need to have divorce. There's a lot of anger, there's a lot of judgment, there's all that going on, instead of understanding that you've just served a purpose. And it's time to move to a higher state of understanding of you. And it does become a little more complicated when you have kids involved, but then you make different choices, and you make choices that are going to exemplify love and light for your children. You're going to decide that you're going to do things in a way that are going to serve them. We've given you this before, and we want you to understand it, because many people laughed at this when we started talking about, or they laughed at this couple when Gwyneth, the actress Gwyneth Paltrow, got a divorce, and she says, we're doing conscious uncoupling. Do you hear that? And everybody said, oh, that's ridiculous, that's silly. No, it's not. It's the brilliant thing to do. Conscious uncoupling, meaning that you've understood that this period in your life journey has served its purpose, and it was wonderful, and it gave you all these other things, and you appreciate that and you love it, but now you want more. And the more that you will give to yourself, you'll demonstrate that loving way to your children. And that's what we want for all of you. Thank you.
Is there a connection between the 7 musical Greek modes and the 7 colors of the rainbow? Thank you, Roger and Wilhelm, for everything.
We're so wow. We just couldn't have asked for more. Yes, 7 is a very powerful number in and of itself. But when you start attaching it to music, you're accessing different frequencies, and this takes us back to the frequency and the energy and vibration. That's all. And so there's different levels of vibration, and music will take you there in different ways. That's why many people have figured out the hertz of what will do it in different ways. It's happened throughout your as long as civilization has been around, you start discovering that. And so you will start to figure out how it's coming up for you. But this is saying to us that you're being awakened to something that is really emerging and powerful within you. So yes, and you need to do a little more research on that, because there's plenty of research that you could find these connections. We have our being do research all the time, because he will receive information like you all do, and he goes, does this make sense? And you have technology now that allows you to do this much easier. He didn't have that in 1988 when he first started receiving us. You know, he had to like use dictionaries or something to kind of find information. Oh, he had encyclopedias at sometimes too, but that was different. But no, that is exactly what you're meant to do, and you're being given an awakening, and we're so pleased. Thank you.
I have a UTI that's been lingering, and I am on Chinese herbs. Normally, when I get them, they leave in 8 days. I think this is old stuff. And it's been there for a long time. What am I clearing? Thanks.
It's in your consciousness, and you have to make the connection. It'll come up to you, because there are many different things, and there's something about elimination that you're not willing to do. There's something about, and we also feel you need to drink a lot more water, but there's something about elimination within your life that's coming about. We told you a thing. We had our being pull out a message we gave him decades ago about his skin, because he was having all these skin conditions. We said, well, we started asking questions. Why is it here? What are you trying to hide? And so for you, it feels like there's something that you're not willing to continue to move to in your life, and you're going to have to ask yourself new questions. Why am I not willing to eliminate this? Just in that sense, and it'll start to come to you. But we don't want you to make it, because we can feel this too, because even in the way that you asked the question, that it's coming back again. Things do return until you find the original source, and the original source is always in your consciousness. That's your soul mission. And so when you find that original source, it may resolve the situation forever. Now, again, we've also given you a message. Some physical things don't resolve in this lifetime, because you were meant to use them in a different way. But for you, we feel that you have come to this new awareness. We don't think that's what's going on for you, because you've come to this new awareness that they keep repeating. And we know that that's because you need to eliminate something, but we also want you to drink a lot more water and start to cleanse. And do cranberry juice as well. A lot of that. That's what we're feeling. Okay, thank you.
I am ready and prepared with the intention to connect my spirit guide. How do I come into contact with my spirit guide?
First of all, by deciding you want to and believing that you can. That's all that it takes. When we began, okay, let's go back. When Roger only came to, he only comes to things usually out of desperation sometimes. And this is why he was sitting at a place of really being afraid in his life in 1988. Didn't know what he was going to do. And so he read something about automatic writing. And so then he decided to try it. But it didn't work at first. We didn't come through right away. It took several days before that would start to happen. And so what will happen for you is that you're starting to understand that you have this awareness. It's come to you. You don't have those thoughts accidentally. But now you have to start to trust it. And then you're going to find a way to allow it to come through. Now, not everyone's going to do automatic writing or whatever. You might go to a guide or someone, or get a session that will give you more confidence. But we're feeling that you're being awakened to this internal knowledge that you need to start to trust now and find a way to bring it forth. Many of you, when you start having these connections, you're hearing things, you're having intuitions and all of that, you think something's going wrong, and it's not. It's just that you've moved through a restriction and you're allowing yourself to hear a higher state of consciousness or awareness. So just go, trust yourself, and find a way that you can, because you're fighting with yourself. We want you to just own what you're hearing. And as you begin to trust that, it'll become more clear. You'll start to get more information, and then you'll start to lean on it a little bit more too, meaning knowing that you can access this information that is beginning to be revealed to you. Thank you.
Greetings to you, dear. Every morning after my meditation, I sit in front of the computer and I ask Spirit for any messages for the day. However, nothing is happening just yet. But when I write whatever comes to my mind, even if it doesn't make sense. What advice can you give me about this, please?
Right? What doesn't make sense? No, you are right on it. This is so perfect. We love this. The reason you're sitting in front of the computer, nothing's coming through, is because that's not where it's coming from. Your guides are saying to you, your guidance is saying, we want you to sit and write, because when you sit and write, even though it doesn't make sense, it's going to start to. It's going to begin to make sense, because you all have access to higher states of awareness. And when you write, this is why we always talk about the writing, it makes a connection in your physical body, this neural connection that allows you to access this higher dimension. And so as you start writing, more will be coming through for you. We always love using the idea, because most of you think if you're just writing to yourself or journaling, it doesn't mean anything, but that's never true. When you were in school, if you had to do this, you had to sit and create a composition, for instance. Where did that information come through? You had to think about a subject and let it come to you. That's your higher self. That's infinite intelligence. You all have it, and you will practice it and access it in different ways. But what's coming up for you, you're being guided, because we can feel it, to start to access that higher intelligence and information that is within you, and the computer's not going to give it to you. Thank you.
As I listen to you, I feel a powerful and soothing energy surrounding my head. What is being transmitted, and is there a way I can consciously work with you at this time? Thank you for your loving presence.
Yes. First of all, many of you will have aspects of this. When we're speaking to you, we're always speaking to your higher self. And that's what you hear. And it's always been there. It's just that you don't trust it and you don't allow it to come through. And it's a development that happens within each individual. And as we said, in your society as well. And so, but you are beginning to do that. And we're interesting you should ask that question, because our being was just deciding about putting up, which he will do, ways that he can work with others individually. He's going to put that up. And we'll be quite honest, he's avoided that because sometimes it's a little draining, and it's so much, and he didn't know how much he was going to be able to do, but he has to take that next step as well. So yes, there will be that. But we are so glad that you are hearing us, because that's the awakening that's coming about, and that's what we've been attempting to do. And we knew a long time ago we would put out things. We would have him put out things that not everyone's going to hear you. That's because we knew that many of you wouldn't, but now you are, and so that means that you're awakening to your higher self, and just keep developing that. And we will have something out. We're going to send out things that okay, we're going to jump ahead, because this is perfect for you. We had our being, before he came onto this, we had him look at the message for tomorrow. I know it doesn't make sense that you guys can think that he does this, but what happens is we have given him messages that come up on certain days, and the one that's coming up, because he has to do this, is about selfless. Become selfless, and when you look that up, which is what we had you all do, when you look up that word, you will come to a different understanding of it. And that selfless is that not hiding who you are and going out, and he's been doing that, and he's going to take a bigger role, but he has to just figure out where it's not going to drain him. But yes, we will have all that information for all of you soon. Thank you for that.
Dear Wilhelm, I have been working in the healthcare sector for over 14 years, and I feel a bit stagnant. There's an opportunity now for a better position, and I applied for it, and I trust I will be on the short list for an interview. Any advice regarding this area of my life, please?
Yes, we want you to connect why this new position is going to be connected to your higher purpose. And because you're working in the healthcare, we don't, in this industry, there's an understanding that you're all coming to now where you can bring more awareness into your spiritual selves, into your bodily conditions to gain greater awareness. This is all the information that we've given our being, which is why he could heal everything, all these crazy things that he's had all of his life. But what we're feeling for you is that your path is taking you to this higher level of understanding, which your world could use now to know, for others to know that whatever modalities they use, if they have to use medicine, Western, whatever it might be, there's another aspect of that, which is a higher state of awareness. And we feel that you're going to bring that in and you're going to figure out how to marry that. And then you're going to find that it's going to work really well with those that you're going to work with in whatever position that's going to be. But you're going to carry that greater awareness to them, especially as they might be suffering with something of the physical nature, that you're going to bring a higher awareness about the spiritual aspect of that for them. So yeah, you're going in a great direction. So thank you for doing this. Thank you.
Could you tell me when my mind and body will be reanimated? Or
No.
am I in my shift? Or are some parts of me currently disconnected, and will they return my understanding of who I am?
We love that so much. We this is the thing that we want you all to get. No, we can't tell you. We can tell you that it will happen if you keep moving into who you are. Now everybody's life path is different. Not all of you are going to have physical healings, but we will say that many of you now are experiencing physical conditions because or ailments or maladies or whatever you want to call them, because there's so much energy moving in your planet, so your bodies are changing. But you have to start to embrace that. And as you go, okay, let's take, this is so much, and we could spend a day talking about this, because our messenger has had every medical issue and it's been healed, and this is why we keep talking about it. And we know it doesn't make sense, especially when you look at him and we say next week he's going to be 73, and how could that have happened? He should have been dead many times. So your individual journeys will have some physical things, because that's life. And if it's meant to be, if your life plan is for those to be healed in this physical form, that is what will occur. But most times what's happening, and this is why we also recommended Louise Hay's book about You Can Heal Your Life, because when more of you understand that many of your physical conditions are about a disconnection from the self. That means who you are. That self that we're talking about, your connection to God, to source, to all that is, that whatever, however you think of it. So your disconnection causes this dis-ease to show up in your bodies. And so as you keep moving into accepting more of who you are, and bit by bit, then it starts to change. And that's what we said. It's too much. One day we're going to have him write a book about this, maybe, because he's done so much of it. And he's hesitated because some of you won't do that because you don't stay with it. That's the only reason, but we will figure that out, because we're going to give more of you that information, because you can heal more of your physical ailments. But we want you to understand that if it's right for your life path, that will happen. But just the process for all of it, though, no matter what shows up in the physical, is for you embracing more of you and doing that on a daily basis. And you'll find many of the things starting to resolve. Thank you.
So we have about 4 more questions left, and I just want to speak into the space that we are over time. So if you have to leave, the replay will be available, but we have 4 more questions that we are going to answer. And as always, whenever that space is open and you're able to answer, to ask your question, Wilhelm is guaranteed to have an answer for you. And so as we finish up, the next question here. I can say that I love myself. I can try to feel gratitude, but in reality, inside, it doesn't feel true or real. It feels like I'm making it up or lying to myself.
Perfect. You're making up everything. So the fact that you said that means that you're in process. Don't worry, you're going there. Just acknowledge that it's a process. We want you to understand this. You each have these, and so we gave you a message the other day. You come into the world broken, and so you're always putting those pieces back together. And that's the love that you feel. Now, your individual paths are going to be different because you have these, this is a generational shift that we've told you. This is why it looks so crazy in your world, because you're moving through all the old energies that have been in your ancestry. And so you're going to have those in different ways. So coming to that place of loving yourself means redoing all of those old memories. So you have this awareness, though. The fact that you could say that means that you're in process. So we don't want you to judge yourself. Just keep understanding that it's a day by day thing, and say that to yourself every day, that today I'm better. Many of you have used that one. I'm getting better every day. That's true. But you have to say it, because then you're using your brain, your neuroscience, to change the old beliefs that have been within you, which is why we talk about vibration and frequency so much, because when you do that, then it starts to change. But thank you for that, because you are loving yourself and you're on that place. We just want you to do it every day. We want you to trust yourself and let go of any judgment that you weren't there before. That's what many of you do. You judge yourself that you haven't gotten there yet. No, you're in process. So this is beautiful. Thank you.
Does orientation return?
Yes. But the orientation is going to be different. We told you in the very beginning, as we started talking about this particular time in your world, which in your life, you're never going to be the same. You're never the same anyway as you move through your lives. You're changing every single day. You're not the same as you were yesterday, a year ago. None of that. You're never going to be the same. However, this orientation is quite different. You're restructuring your entire planet. So none of you are going to feel that. So you have to stop trying to get back to the difficulties that the world is having now, is that so many people are trying to hold on to what was old. This is, again, why you're having wars. And so you are going to develop this orientation, this new orientation, but it's not going to be like before. You will be in a higher state of existence within you. And so don't try to get back to something that was before, because that's not what you want. And we've said the other day, we said you have to become comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that uncomfortableness means that you're moving to something greater. And that's what we want you to trust. Thank you.
Wilhelm, when I was a young girl, I would often dream about ancient times. I won't go into the details now as they are lengthy. However, in 2018, those childhood dreams came alive, physically felt through my body. Lately, I've been seeing holographic images that appear like light beings aboard a ship.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not scared, but I'm unsure of what to do with all of this. Thank you.
You're supposed to trust it. You are being awakened. And yes, we love the light ships too, because many of you are going to some of you will start seeing and getting visions of that. And we talked a long time ago that many of your scientists have started seeing things in the sky they didn't know that existed before. And so many of you have these memories. Our being we just brought back a memory where he would see this when he was a young child, and he disconnected from it, didn't want to see it again, and hid from it, and it carried on throughout his life. And so that's the memory that's coming back for you now, that you were given a mission, you're being guided, and these other beings are actually speaking to you at this time and saying, please keep going. They want you to spiral up, let's say. That's what's going on. And so just trust it. You're awakening to something that's brilliant and beautiful, and something that is needed in your world at this time. So we're glad that it's coming about. We just don't want, I'm glad you said that you don't have the fear, because that's what would hold you back. Now we just want you to embrace more and know this is now your life journey. This whole long period since you were a young girl is now starting to come about at the exact perfect time for your world. So thank you.
And the final question, is there one specific way to meditate and it be effective?
Oh, that's the best question ever. Because see, this is the problem. No, there is no one specific way. The specific way that we only want you to do is to be quiet. It's just to listen. Whatever works for you, because it's going to be different for everyone. We've told you in the beginning, we actually had our messenger put out a little program about that with his Finding Answers Within, because he couldn't do all the traditional things he told that he was supposed to do, that you have to sit this way, you have to do that. Didn't work for him, and so he found his way to do it. But so we want you to say, just find the thing that works for you. If it's just sitting quiet, if it's listening to music, if it's lighting a candle and staring at something, just, there is no one way, but just keep experimenting. He experimented many different ways before he found something that started to allow us to come through, and that took a while. And then he stayed with that for a few years, and then he let go of that, and then he came to this place where he doesn't even have to do that. He can just access the information when at call. But you are coming up with something now that is saying, please just listen. There's no way except your way. And that's what we want you to find, because it's going to be unique and individual for you. That's what we want. Thank you.
And that completes the
Okay.
Q&A portion. And so, Wilhelm, if you will take us out with the final saying, and then
Yes.
Yana will close us out.
Yes. The reason that we did this today, we wanted you to understand there's so much energy happening in your world this today, and we gave our being, because as again, the reason, we don't know if any of you did this, we had you look up about this particular transition in your world and the energies that are happening. And on this day, there's a lot of this Scorpion energy, which he is, and this is why it's coming through, but it's transition. And it looks really scary, and it's going to be uncomfortable. When you remember who you are and love yourselves and do what you came to do, you're going to do such great work in this world. You're going to have a different life. And this is why we said this is a guide to your personal success and world peace, because when more of you do that, that's exactly what you have eventually. We love you all so much, and thank you for being here.
Great, good stuff. Thank you, Roger. So he's naming it, right? It's a great guide. Wilhelm's Guide to Personal Success and World Peace. And yeah, if you're interested in working with Roger, with working with me as well, and now using this transition to make a next step towards connecting and really elevating together with us, then we do have the program 4 Weeks to Your Best Life, where you will have access to weekly group coachings, weekly group mindfulness sessions with me, where we're also going to meditate. So you will have different varieties of meditations available as well, where the people love it. I love it. Roger loves it, right? We are all here. The link is in the chat for you right now. So just click on it, check it out. If it calls you, if you're curious, if you want to move to the next level with us together, right? We are all constantly evolving. We are all constantly growing, and there's no one excluded from it. Then join us and let's do it together. And we'd be very grateful for that. So other than that, thank you for your time, your energy. We appreciate your presence. We feel your love and energy in the room, and keep going, right? Don't ever stop. You don't die. You have nothing to fear. Maybe the only fear might be your true potential, because it is larger than we've been told. And I do believe that the moment that we realize how powerful we are, there is nothing that can hold us back. So all my love to you. Have a beautiful eclipse. Use the energy with the full moon and the eclipse to let go of what does not longer serve you, and to make a step into a new direction, because with every part that dies within us, a new part is rebirthing. So let's rebirth something great and leave this planet better than expected. And if you feel the call, click the link and check it out. Thanks, Roger. All my love to you, brother. Thanks, Dan. All my love to you. And this is it for today. See you in the next time.
I find this work is very powerful. They change a lot very quickly. It's like quite surprising how things are changing for me.
I want to say how grateful I am that you've done this. And the time that you've put through on this is just amazing. And as we get older and we put through something like this into the world, you don't know the benefits of it until years later.
I just want to thank you for the program. Probably a year or two ago, if there was a tough decision to make, especially about money or anything like that, I would let fear and worry guide me away from a decision that might have helped me grow.
I have moved. I have made some positive changes. Hey, good, bad, or ugly, you did it. That's the main thing.
When you say the time is now, and I always appreciate it, because now more than ever, I feel a little bit more satisfied with myself, because especially lately, I keep leaving a project not finished.
I love the program. I love the questions. But I think that being aware of everything that's inside of you and bringing it out onto paper, it really does make you step forward in that area.
The way the questions penetrate into your memory and into your past experiences is so unique. Yeah, it really goes deep very, very quickly. I mean, I'm only on day 3, but the way like the questions are presented and the things you read before and the whole steps you go through, probably a lot of people's experiences, but it goes really deep, really, really quickly.
I mean, every day has its difficulties, but like, it's better than it was. You know, I mean, I'm doing more things that I enjoy, and like I find that I personally feel like I'm meant to do my book and everything, and then with the acting, I'm working on all that.
I've been taking so much courses, like especially with this pandemic, I approach different from Tony Robbins, from Bob Proctor, from Jack Canfield, and also I've been following Abraham Hicks, but never really brought me the result that I wanted to do it. So I'm very, I mean, this course is very more, I found that I think it's a bit faster.
Roger, I just wanted to say thank you again, because a few years ago I realised that voice coaching wasn't the only thing that I could do, and that I had something else, but I didn't know what it was. I had no idea what it was.
For a limited time, learn more about how Roger can help you step into your best life by going to 4weekstoyourbestlife.com today.